I'm Ivy Larson with hotandhealthyliving.com, and I'm going to show you a super simple, surprisingly nutritious recipe for risotto. Now this is a recipe that's adapted from my Whole Foods Diet cookbook. It is a corn and quinoa risotto. Now normally risotto is one of those dishes that I would totally suggest you avoid because it's made mostly with arborio rice, which is just a nutrient-poor and fiber-poor grain choice. And also, especially if you're ordering risotto at restaurants, restaurants usually spike their risottos with a lot of butter and a lot of cream. My version is going to be butterless and creamless. It is also going to be using just a smidgen of the arborio rice, but in addition, we're going to really boost things up from a health standpoint by using quinoa. Quinoa is really rich in fiber and protein. It's got antioxidants and phytochemicals, a great source of vitamins and minerals. And then in addition, my risotto recipe is also going to use a lot of vegetables. And the vegetables are going to boost the nutritional profile even further. But in addition, the vegetables really are going to supply be a great source of flavor. So when all said and done, my risotto is going to be tasty, nutritious, and slimming. And best of all, it's super easy to make too. So I'm going to show you how easy. We're going to get started on the stove right now. Okay, just wanted to show you how I have the vegetables prepared. I have one whole leek that I used a food processor to shred, and 2 carrots that I also cut very finely using the food processor. And then I have all the rest of my ingredients out and measured and right next to the stovetop where I'll be preparing the risotto. It's very important to start with all your ingredients measured, and you can get the full list of ingredients at hotandhealthyliving.com. We're going to start by adding 3 cups of this organic vegetable broth, and I'm using Pacific Natural Foods. I've already added the 3 cups to my saucepan. We're going to bring that to a boil, and then what we do is we saute the carrots, the leeks, and the garlic together in 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And we're going to saute it for about 4 to 5 minutes, seasoning right after you add the vegetables with a little bit of sea salt. I've used Kirkland brand sea salt, very economical because you can buy it in bulk. Always important to layer your salt as you go. That way you kind of build on the flavors, but also you end up not having to use quite as much. Okay, so we're going to add that, and then we're going to saute for about 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, just a quickie close-up of how beautiful the vegetables look. And we want to saute them until they're just tender. So now we're going to add half a cup of the arborio rice right on top of the vegetables, and then we are going to add a half a cup of quinoa, again right on top of the vegetables. We are going to season, layering our salt with just a little more sea salt, just a smidgen, not much. And then we are also going to add a little bit of thyme. No need to measure, you can just kind of guesstimate. And we are going to saute and kind of stir fry these grains right in with the vegetables for about 2 to 3 minutes. So now we're going to add a half a cup of the wine. Now this is going to boost the flavor even more, but again without having to resort to using that butter or cream that's used in conventional recipes. So we are going to add a half a cup of a good quality Chardonnay. And then we're going to add in, I'm using organic, these are diced tomatoes, Muir Glen, they've also already been drained. We're going to add the whole cup right in like that. And then we are going to ladle in, and you have to make sure that the broth is hot, but you're going to ladle in very slowly about a half a cup of the vegetable broth. And then we are just going to simmer and let this cook until the water is absorbed, and then we're going to repeat and add a little bit more of the broth. You don't need to be totally neurotic about stirring the risotto every 5 seconds, but you do want to keep your eye on it, and you want to periodically stir it. And once the liquid is mostly evaporated, then we want to go to our hot broth, and we want to add just about a half a cup at a time. And then we will just let this cook until the liquid absorbs, and then we'll just again repeat. It's just about time to add a little more broth, but it is important again to periodically stir your risotto, and you also want to kind of get up any brown bits that are starting to crust on the bottom of the skillet. So now we're going to add about another half a cup of the broth. You're probably wondering just how many times we have to do this. And the cooking process for risotto is about 25 minutes. So you're probably going to add the broth about 5 to 6 times throughout the entire cooking process. But you really don't need to be exact about this. I mean, if it looks like you have too much broth, then just don't add more. And if it looks like you don't have enough broth, you can always add more broth, and you can also always add more white wine. And now we are going to, again, let this cook until the liquid evaporates. Okay, so after all the liquid has evaporated, we are going to turn the heat off, and then we are going to add 2 cups of thawed frozen corn kernels. And we're going to stir this in, and then we are going to cover the risotto and let it sit for about 15 minutes. The risotto's done, and as you can see, it is beautiful, but looks aren't everything. I can assure you it tastes absolutely every bit as good as it looks. And now we're actually having guests over to dinner tonight, so I'm not going to put the final finishing touches on just yet. But when our guests come, I'm going to give them 2 options. I personally am going to opt for option number 1, which is the vegan option. In my little mini Cuisinart, I have made some pecan crumbs, and just before I serve it, I will sprinkle the pecan crumbs on top. Now, for those guests who don't want to go vegan, I'm going to give them the option of the cheese, and I've used Kirkland brand Parmigiano Reggiano, which is just a perfect cheese topping for this, and you want to make sure the risotto is hot, because when you add the cheese is going to kind of melt in. In addition, you can actually opt for option number 3, which is to combine the pecans and the cheese, which is absolutely delicious too. And if you'd like the full recipe, you can visit me, Ivy Larson, at hotandhealthyliving.com. Stay tuned, because we'll be bringing you more quick and easy, healthy, and whole foods recipes soon.